Joining us live now is the newest entrant into the lieutenant governor's race on the Republican side. He's been on our show many times, the former chairman of Virginia Victory 2012 for the GOP in this state, Pete Snyder. Pete, welcome to the show and the race.
John, thank you so much, and good morning to all of Virginia. Thanks for having me here. We are absolutely fired up to take our country and take our Commonwealth back. We launched our campaign yesterday in Richmond and have been blazing a path. We blazed on down to Southwest Virginia, John. And well, I got to tell you, I was very, very appreciative of the nice things that you said about me the other day on Bearing Grip. But I got to tell you, I have a little bit of a bone to pick. And I've Israel O'Quinn here, who's a delegate from the 5th District in what you would call the quote-unquote rural hinterlands. John, you know I was born in a rural county, and Israel O'Quinn played baseball in college. He has a baseball bat right here, and I think he might want to use it on you. So no one performed better in this past year's election for Republicans in the 9th District. Southwest Virginia came through and came through big, John. So there's a Louisville Slugger here with your name on it.
It's always good to have people of all views on. I think my argument is you can't win a majority in the statewide with depending on one district and white males. And I think that is one of the issues that the GOP has to look internally, Pete, and come to grips with if they're going to
John, very fair argument. Look, we need to be out there winning hearts and minds, expanding our party, but it's not going to be through capitulation, which is what you hear in Washington, what you hear on all those Sunday shows of, oh my gosh, we just need to be for higher taxes and everything to be better. Absolutely not. We need to reaffirm our conservative principles and go out there with big ideas. And really that's what our candidacy and my candidacy for lieutenant governor is going to be all about. Far too often, politics in Richmond and Washington is about small ball. We're talking about small, petty things. We need to lift ourselves up and bring new ideas to the table, like transformative education reform, really getting our entire economy in Virginia firing on all cylinders. Those are the things that are going to win hearts and minds. Those are the things that are going to expand our party. Those are the things that are going to bring like-minded, conservative, principled people into our party and help us on Election Day and make us govern with conservative principle.
Okay, Pete, why don't we get right to it if we can. There's many people saying that, hey, you're running for lieutenant governor. This is your first race, your first time in politics. You have no elective experience. You're not a delegate. You're not a state senator. You haven't run for office in the past. Why not start and run for the city council or the school board or perhaps state senate or something? Why go statewide? Because you come into this thing without any political experience at all.
John, you're absolutely right. And people who say that are absolutely right. I have zero experience as a career politician. I have zero experience in raising taxes. I have zero experience in ballooning the budgets in Richmond over the past 20 years or so. We've had runaway spending, not only in Washington, but also in Richmond. So I have no experience doing that. What I do have is a heck of a lot of experience, more experience than I think anyone out there in the arena right now, in job creation, in coming up with big ideas and focusing on goals and executing and producing real-world results. I mean, if you look at the what's happened since Election Day, John, our markets are still faltering. Our world is, as you can look at the headlines, a little less safe, and our economic future doesn't look any brighter. So really, for me, I got to tell you, I was a little depressed, if not a little depressed, a lot depressed, coming off of a couple Tuesdays ago. And I went into the bunker and did a media blackout and felt sorry for myself and sorry for our country. But, after that, you got to dust yourself off. I'm a former college wrestler, so I know firsthand what it's literally like to pick yourself up off the mat And we don't have enough people in the arena with private sector experience. It's no wonder that folks like Barack Obama, who've never had a single private sector job out there, say, oh, the private sector's doing fine. We just need more public sector jobs. We need people with that real-world experience in office and with conservative principles who will fight. And I've been a strong and I'd like to believe effective conservative voice at the statewide level and also a national level for over 10 years. So bring it on. I'm excited to help turn our country and turn our Commonwealth around.
Now, Pete, you most recently were the chairman of Virginia Victory 2012, which basically was the organization that you were in charge of, which mission was to win the state for Mitt Romney and to elect George Allen. You went 0 for 2. So there's some who are saying, hey, you get this guy now, he's running a statewide office, and he couldn't even win for the past job he had. Why should we have any confidence in him? How do you respond to that, Pete?
John, I took, and I think so many of us took the defeat a couple Tuesdays ago very hard. And Virginia had the spotlight on it, and we put more resources, more effort, more energy, and I think left everything on the field. Again, I've worked with tens of thousands of volunteers who dedicated their time and effort, and my wife, Burson, and I traveled to just about every nook and cranny of the Commonwealth, helping to raise money and helping to get people fired up and helping to get the vote out. And, yeah, we lost. We lost, John. And it kills me. I've had a lot of sleepless nights about it. My name wasn't on the ballot, And in the aftermath, I certainly had a hand on the wheel. And I'm a believer as a chief executive, and I've been a chief executive for more than half my life. You need to have accountability and responsibility. When you're the quarterback, you get a heck of a lot more credit for the touchdowns that you may not have even been a part of, and you also get probably more blame for the losses. So that's just fine with me. But in the days afterwards, I sat down and did a lot of praying and talked with my wife, and we looked at what our country was turning into and really where the markets were going and really what's at stake for Virginia this coming year in 2013, and said, you know what, it's put up or shut up time. If we care about our country and we care about the Commonwealth and we really do have big ideas to transform education and get our economy humming, get rid of the corporate income tax for small businesses and make sure that Virginia is a haven for all sorts of job creation and growth, we better get in the game. And that's why I'm doing this, John. Our country needs people out there fighting for liberty, fighting for job growth, fighting for big ideas. We need to grow our party, and that's what I'm excited about.
Well, you know what, Pete, in all fairness, when you look at the results in Virginia, there were 8 swing states, and I put this in the column I did over the weekend. There were basically 8 swing states that the Romney campaign was targeting. Virginia, one of the 8. They only did win one of them. However, the swing that you got in Virginia from 2008 to 2012 was the largest swing of any of the 8 states. So although you didn't win, in all fairness, we have to say that in a relative world, you got a better result than anybody else.
Hey, John, look, I appreciate that, but halfway to the end zone isn't in the end zone. That's really why we're doubling down right now, and we're saying, if we have big ideas for the Commonwealth, if we know that our country is going to be watching every move that Virginia makes, if people are going to be watching, what is our party going to look like? What ideas are we bringing to the table? It is time to go all in. And that's what we're excited about.
The stakes are high. I'm going to tell a quick 30-second story, if I may. I worked for the Ronald Reagan for President campaign in 1976 as a very young man, made $50 a week. We went to the convention in Kansas City, and the guy that I worked for was a guy by the name, he was from New Jersey, where I was from. His name was Jeff Feld, and he had a bunch of kids working for him, and we got beat in that Kansas City convention, and everybody was all depressed, and we were on our way home, and I remember saying to Jeff, so what are you going to do now? and he turned to me and he said, I'm going to run for the United States Senate in New Jersey. So I kind of get where you're coming from on that. When you say, hey, we need better, bigger, bolder ideas, do you plan to go into some of the areas that traditionally Republicans have gotten clobbered in? Can you go into the urban areas and sell a message of ownership, entrepreneurship, freedom, and liberty? Or do you just say, well, we can't win those areas, the heck with it?
John, I absolutely refuse to do the same old, same old. You know, we have the great thing about being a conservative is our ideas are actually better. And we do our best when we're ideas focused and ideas driven. So you look at some of the communities that the Republicans don't traditionally reach out to. You look at African American communities and Latino communities. You look at those communities that are trapped in failing schools. If you look at education in Virginia, it's the best of times and the worst of times. We have some of the best schools in the country, yet we also have some of the worst. So if you look at our education laws that are on the books, they look as if the teachers' unions wrote them themselves. And in Virginia, we don't even negotiate against the teachers' unions for contracts. So it's amazing. You know, we need to fundamentally change the way we do business with education. And I think that that is the right thing to do, but also a winning issue for hearts and minds and people who will believe and be free through our conservative principles.
Pete, now, our take is that I did a column over the weekend, and you were so inspired by it that you decided unequivocally to take my advice and jump in the race, right?
The Straight Talk Express of John Fredericks, kicked me right in the fanny and got me motivated to hop in there. Hey, John, look, after the elections, my wife and I took a little bit of time to collect our thoughts. We did a lot of thinking, a lot of praying, especially over this past weekend. So I certainly appreciated your encouragement, and it's a real pleasure to be getting the Snyder for the Pete for LG campaign fired up and going on Common Sense for the Commonwealth this morning, my man.
Well, there you go. We appreciate that, Pete, and we appreciate the plug. And hey, what we're in favor of on our show is a common sense approach to what's happening, and we want big ideas and we want change, because I believe the path that we're heading down is getting us absolutely nowhere. Now, if I could ask this is a big field. There's now, with yourself in it, there's 8 candidates vying to be the Republican LG nominee. What is it that really differentiates Pete Snyder from the rest of the field?
Well, John, first and foremost, I do want to say we have a lot of talented and really wonderful men and women that are going to be putting their names on the ballot this year, up and down the ticket. A lot of those folks are friends, and a lot of them are good conservatives. So I imagine we're going to agree on a whole lot more than we're going to disagree. Where am I versus other folks? I'll let your listeners figure that out on their own. They can squeeze the Charmin. I'm the only proven job creator, I think, among the bunch. I'm going to bring a real-world, results-driven approach, and also big ideas. You and I have talked about it before. We talked about it on this show. That really, that's what wins hearts and minds. Just pandering to different demographics doesn't get the job done. How do you change people's lives? How can we make Virginia lead in education again? I tell you, John, we will not remain number one in business, as we have been over the past few years, if we continue to fall and slip in education. Those two have to be completely in sync. I'm very blessed to be a product of Virginia's public higher ed system. I'm a proud alum and board of visitor member of the College of William and Mary, which was the first institution of higher education in the entire free world. Virginia has a long, storied history of leading in education. We need that to continue. We need to get back on our game, and out of me and our campaign, we're going to be focusing on those big ideas. We also have to have every single cylinder of the Virginia economy firing on all cylinders. I'm from Fairfax County. The technology community there it's doing pretty doggone well. But if you go in other parts of the Commonwealth, you have double-digit unemployment. We need new ideas and industries to get this economy going again, to get to all of the parts of our Commonwealth, all of our communities humming the way they can. I not only created a company 13 years ago, what we did inspired an entire industry. It's created hundreds of thousands of jobs around the world. So that's the kind of passion, that's the kind of big ideas that a guy like me is going to be bringing to the table. And also, I've been a conservative warrior for the past 15 years. I cut my teeth, my gosh, I think it was almost 20 years ago in Oliver North's unbelievable and legendary conservative campaign for U.S. Senate here in Virginia.
Right.
I've been in the trenches, and I've been a strong and I hope effective conservative voice for the Commonwealth and for the country. And I'm just thrilled to, for the first time in my life, I'll put my name on the ballot and hop in the arena because our country needs it, our Commonwealth needs it, and I'm going to give all I have.
Now, Pete, why don't we talk about Northern Virginia, where Republicans are getting absolutely annihilated now in statewide races. This past 2 weeks ago, basically the Republican ticket lost Northern Virginia by a staggering 200,000 votes, and those demographics are changing. How do you go into Northern Virginia and basically convince people that are voting for Democrats in that number, many of them government-type employees or work for companies that serve the government? How do you cut into that 200,000 deficit? Because if you don't do that, you aren't going to win anyway.
Sure, John. Look, I think a great playbook for that is what Bob McDonald and our entire Republican ticket was able to do in 2009. Bob McDonald is a conservative's conservative, a very principled man. I had an honor of calling him a friend. And he his guns on his conservative principles, but also focused like a laser beam on the economy. Our economy was reeling in 2009, and all the eyes of the world were watching Virginia. And he put together a jobs plan, Bob's for Jobs, that caught fire across the Commonwealth. He won Fairfax County. So it's doable. I mean, you look at Ken Cuccinelli. He's won every single race he's been in.
Right.
In the thick of things in Northern Virginia. So you can be a proven, trusted conservative and stick to your principles and win in Virginia. You just need to be results-oriented as well. And that's what I think, that's the model that I'm going to be bringing to the table. We have big ideas that are going to help push our Commonwealth forward, help, I hope, have Virginia lead again on economic issues, on education, but also not retreat and not capitulate on the issues that really matter out there. We're not going to be raising taxes. We're going to fight that tooth and nail. We need to stand up for a culture of life. There's no other issue over the past 20 years that has grown and captured more hearts and minds than the life movement. And why is that? Well, it's based on principle, but it's also based on science. So, I'm unafraid to talk about the issues that really matter for our Commonwealth, and which I think the original Virginia entrepreneurs and Thomas Jefferson penned really, really well. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what my campaigns, our big ideas are all framed up on, which is, we can't pursue happiness if we don't have life and if our liberty is under assault, which it is right now. So Virginia has a long, rich history of standing up and leading. I believe firmly in 2013, Virginia will do that again. And here's one entrepreneur that hopes to follow in the footsteps. Has been very inspired by the many Virginia entrepreneurs that came before, and I'm willing to fight, and we're going to make this country better.
Now, Pete, one thing I do want to ask, some of your naysayers and detractors that I've contacted have said, look, basically Snyder went around the state as victory chairman in 2012, raising his own ID, his own profile. So that was kind of a launching pad for him to now run for lieutenant governor. And I got to say that in everyone that I've talked to about that, surrogates or whatever, I've said, those who talk about this past election in November, I think we all have to ask ourselves, what did they do during the biggest battle of their time? So how do you respond to that? I mean, was your effort
John,
in 2012 about the Republican Party, or was it about advancing?
John, I'm very, very proud of the effort that tens of thousands of volunteers put in, that my wife and I put in. We gave our all. And I think, we can look in the mirror during what I think you appropriately called the biggest political battle of our lives and feel good that we were all in. And I think others need to do that same thing and say, what did you do? And were you in it for yourself, or were you in it for the ticket and for the cause? So, I feel wonderful about all the work that we did in the grassroots over the past years. I wish there was a better outcome to it. And the great thing about Virginia is you get to litigate that every single year. And we need to take it, whatever depression or anger or angst that we have about the direction that our country is going in and our Commonwealth is going in, and we get to put that into hard work and passion and winning hearts and minds in 2013. With Terry McAuliffe at the top of the Democratic ticket, you've got to believe that there's going to be assault on our right-to-work status. Terry McAuliffe has raised more money from unions than I think anyone in the history of the United States of America. So we need to fight to keep our right-to-work status, and we need to fight to make sure that that our education system is going to lead the nation, and that our economy is humming on all cylinders all around the Commonwealth. So that's the big fight, John. It's about big ideas, and that's what we're going to bring to the table. And I'm just so excited to be having this dialogue with you, and the ability to reach out to every single part of our Commonwealth and be in touch with our grassroots and really take our country and take our Commonwealth back.
Okay, Pete, we're out of time. We want to thank you for joining us here today. And for all of our listeners, anybody that wants to get involved with the Pete Snyder for Lieutenant Governor campaign, Pete, where do they go? What do they do?
Go to www.petesnyder.com. Come see us at the Advance at the Cavalier Hotel this weekend in Virginia Beach. And also, if you're up for it, if you love barbecue, we're going to be the first campaign ever with a campaign pitmaster. John, you may not know it, your listeners may not know it, but I am a world-certified barbecue judge. I married a girl from Memphis, Tennessee, so that kind of comes with the dowry.
Absolutely.
And we have the Pete's, at Pete's Pig Rig on Twitter. Follow our pig rig. It's going to be coming along with us on the campaign trail. Squeeze our Charmin, taste our Q, listen to our big ideas, and hopefully we win your hearts and minds and take our Commonwealth back.
Okay, Pete, we want to again thank you for joining us, and we look forward to a very lively and spirited debate with all the candidates for the Republican nomination for LG in the state of Virginia at the convention in May. Pete, thanks.
Amen, John. Thanks for keeping me honest, and thanks for keeping everyone honest.